Welcome to the Kings Beat podcast. I am James Ham, your Kings insider for ESPN 1320 and the Kings Beat. Joining me, Fox 40's Sean Cunningham. Sean, how are you?
James, Brenden, doing good. I hope everyone survived the 4th of July and all the illegal fireworks throughout the valley and throughout the city of Sacramento and even into the Bay Area. I saw they were everywhere. Looked like good times.
It's wild. Yeah, it's wild. People like lighting themselves on fire. I think that's what social media was made for. It's made for things like the 4th of July. And, of course, let's welcome in, Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast and the Kings Herald. What's going on, Brenden?
I am admittedly exhausted from that trip. I spent the whole time with a friend in San Jose, and so even the downtime between games was catching up with old friends. So pretty tired, but I got myself a Dutch Bros. I had a good time, and I'm ready to podcast with you, gentlemen.
Ready to do this. All right. Yes, I am out of COVID prison. My wife has allowed me to leave the bedroom, so I'm free to move about the house, but I am still under the weather. So I don't know what strain I got, but I'm just going to tell everybody be cautious out there because it just like wiped me out for the last, I don't know, we're at like 12 days at this point, I think. I did finally clear tests and all that stuff, but yeah, it's been one of those deals. And while we're getting on the show, Sean and I and Brennan were just discussing Carlos Santana, the incredible guitarist, is having a medical emergency. So thoughts and prayers going out to Bay Area legend Carlos Santana. He means a tremendous amount to a lot of people, and in the Bay Area, I've had the pleasure of seeing him play more than one national anthem before a finals game and stuff. So thoughts and prayers go out to Carlos Santana, the great guitarist. Hopefully everything works out there, but never a good thing. Never a good thing. Outside of that, guys, how was the Cal Classic? I did not get to go because I'm not like fully up for travel yet, but what did you guys think overall? Cal Classic at the Chase Center.
Yeah, it was a good time. Today's experience especially will stand out to me because there was no fans. I sat right behind the Kings bench the entire game. It was a little awkward once I realized there wasn't actually that many other people on the other side with me, but I stuck it out, and it was very much worth it. Cool to hear all their interactions and everything, and Keegan was obviously pretty good, and all three of those games, I think even that second one, so I had a pretty good experience, and I thought, can't complain about 3 Kings wins.
Yeah, it was fine. Today was different because, as Brendan mentioned, no fans in the building, and that was kind of by design. They wanted to make it for executives and, scouts, and I don't think it worked because I think most of those people were gone. I mean, even looking around the Kings, like you didn't see Vivek or ownership or anybody from I don't even think I saw Monty and Wes. I know they're right after the game they moved down to Vegas. I know that you're getting some of your free agents to be in town, like Kevin Huerter and Malik Monk, as we've seen on their social media platforms, and coming in for physicals, and they'll probably sign in Vegas. And so I don't know, man. Like it was a little bit weird. It made it. The 3 days were fine for the most part. I mean, games and presentation and production and all that stuff went off without a hitch. I think the venue was good for it. I just think San Francisco in general isn't probably the best for summer league. I actually think LA will be well attended, just because there's so many people in LA, and even if you are a fan of the Lakers or the Clippers, doesn't matter. Like you'll still go to see summer league, whereas I just don't think Chase Center has the logistics for it. Like I think parking is really expensive, and even though there's a lot of transportation and public transportation that comes to the arena, I don't know. I think there's more of an appetite for it in Sacramento for obvious reasons. So yeah, seeing the California Classic in San Francisco was a bit different in terms of fan support and having nobody there today by design. But even the weekend, there was, I think, 9,000 for the combined 2 days, and I would have guessed less.
Oof, that's harsh. Yeah, hey, Sean, have you heard that they're going to LA next?
No, but I remember when this was designed, like the concept of it was to bounce around California. Obviously, it's not going to go to Miami, but that it was designed for the LA team and the San Francisco team and Sacramento team to be able to share this event should they want it. I don't know if there's an opt out to it, but obviously Sacramento was the where it all began, and hopefully it continues, because I do think that it's worth continuing, but I do think that the Bay Area just doesn't have the appetite for it. Especially just considering where that organization is. I just think there's so many people, not that San Francisco has a little amount of people, but I just think there's just a bigger appetite for summer league basketball and in LA and in Sacramento than there would be in San Francisco. And it hasn't been in LA yet, so hopefully it comes back to Sacramento next year, because there's a lot of people that would want to go to this and they would support it all 3 days. I think you look at something like Chase Center and it's like, they knew that they weren't going to be able to sell this thing beyond the weekend, and let's face it, they probably took a loss to host this thing because of having to staff the venue and staffing and concessions, all that kind of stuff. So it's not easy, but it's something that the Warriors are used to kind of throwing away money, right? So
they are good at throwing away money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues too, just talking to some of their guys, they just got done with the finals. Like, they're overwhelmed. Like, they're beat up. They just got done with an 82-game season and then another, I don't know how many games it was, 20-something games to get to the finals and to win the finals. Like, the decision to have the tournament there, of course, happened a year ago, probably, or 8 months ago. But I really do think that Sacramento is probably the best logistical spot to do it. And it's also a place where, like, look, Sacramento doesn't get to have things like all-star games. Like, whatever the reason, like, we can go through the myriad of reasons of why Sacramento doesn't get an all-star game, but it can host an event like this, and I think it's a good proving ground to show that they're ready for something more. But at the same time, the Kings organization right now is still, like, trying to figure out, like, put all the pieces together. They don't have a full media relations staff yet. They don't have a full-time trainer, like their head of training and their head of their medical team and all that stuff. They still have a lot of pieces to put together. Brenden, I'm going to hit you. What were your thoughts on Jordy Fernandez, who coached the Summer League all the way through, and you got to go to a couple of practices and things with him. Just what was the conversation like there?
Yeah, he's very likable. I think that Jordy talked well about his guys and did a good job of, giving us extended answers with these questions, and just says great things about every one of his players, but also had moments of being willing to say that I still think he needs to get better in area X, Y, or Z. And it's nice to get a little bit of both sides from those guys. And you can see why all the other players, heard nothing but good things from everyone about Jordy Fernandez. And just right away from interacting with him, you can tell that he's a person that you would enjoy being around. Even just little things like when we first had him at media at the practice prior to this, like he specifically introduces himself and shakes hands with all of us. Just a very enjoyable guy to be around, and pretty vocal as well. Asked him about, do you want some of the main guys out there, Keegan, Keon, Neemi, kind of being vocal? And he said, whatever their personalities are, and if they're not, then I will be. And I think you definitely saw that. So I've think nothing but good things about Jordy, and hope the success continues over into Vegas.
Yeah, Sean, what do you got?
You can kind of see what Mike Brown is thinking when he kind of puts his staff together and has a lot of different backgrounds and kind of an eclectic mix of people. I think that's ultimately the goal. I think he's not only does he bring that himself just ordinarily in all the staffs that he's had, but you don't have to look very far in the place that he's kind of called home for the past 5 or so years with the Warriors, and just really kind of look at what each person kind of brings to the table a little bit different. And Jordy has a unique perspective, and I think He's very detail-oriented, which is what you want from an associate head coach, stepping into this role for the first time. And he brings some experience that from different levels of basketball, which I think is a little bit refreshing. And I like that he's able to deal with the media for the first time, because let's face it, in all the places that he's been, he really isn't somebody that gets to speak to the media on a regular basis. I think he handled it pretty well. I think he was very honest and direct with his answers to the questions that we asked. And it's not everyone can do that, especially when you're so focused on the game. And let's be honest, like, this is a stepping stone for him, because he has aspirations of being a head coach one day. And anytime someone goes through California Classic, even if you're an assistant coach or a head coach, everybody's being evaluated. Everyone's kind of being watched. So I think he handled it really well to go 3-0. He kind of, I told him, I was like, it's not really about wins and losses, but I never forget Chris Gent being in my mind's eye and just deadpanning to me after I said, I know Summer League isn't about wins and losses, but development and all these things. And I asked him a question. He goes, no, it's about wins and losses. And Chris Gent,
shut up, Sean. It's about wins.
For those
just
who
win,
remember,
baby.
That was the theme.
He was the assistant on Michael Malone's staff here, and now he's going to be the lead assistant with Darvin Ham in L.A. with the Lakers. So, just kind of cool to see that. Kind of cool to see a different, fresh, up-and-coming face that will probably be in the mix here in the next 5 years or so for a head coaching gig.
Yeah, Sean mentioned detail-oriented, and one line we got a couple times from Jordy was that it's about process and not results. And I'm all for that mindset.
All right, process, not results. That's interesting.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Put that on a T-shirt.
It helps that you won all three, I guess. But
he's probably
easier
not.
time
I
to
think
say
0-3.
Right.
Although it's not a bad retort if someone says, "Hey, you went 0-3." Well, it's about process, not results.
Yeah. That's right. And trust the process. Yeah. I think you guys get to see. I think the other weird thing is that the Kings had almost as many like assistant coaches, player development coaches, as they did players. Like, we still don't have full clarity. We have mostly clarity. Mike Longobardi, of course, joined some other staff. I can't remember where it was. Was it Atlanta?
That he went to Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah, he joined Atlanta's staff today. So we know he won't be back. Stacey Ogman hasn't been around.
He's gone. He will not be back.
Okay, and what about Rico?
I don't think he's going to be back, no.
Okay.
I think what you're seeing right now is an evaluation process as well. And let's not forget, Summer League is a time where you take the Sacramento Kings and the Stockton Kings and it's a blending. You want to keep everything same systems, same faces, same all that stuff. So that's why you see sort of the pregnant staffing. And there's some people that you may not see going forward. It's very possible. I think everything you're seeing right now is a good sign of things to come. Obviously, Leandro Barbosa hasn't been added to this roster or to the staff yet, but it's going to happen.
He's busy hitting game winners in the Big Three.
Yeah.
But it's something that's obviously anticipated, and that
one's a done deal. Yeah,
and I've talked to a few people, and they're happy with at least having the opportunity to still be around and still be able to be under consideration, and that's all what it really is. And when this thing's all said and done, I think it's pretty strong likelihood that what the staff that you see will be either in Sacramento or Stockton. It's possible one or two may not be there, but and it's also possible you might have a couple other added pieces. So we'll see how things shake out. But I think ultimately, though, I think that the team is going to be in good hands. I mean, they got a lot of pieces that they're going to be adding.
Yeah, I know. I don't think Doug was there, right? Doug has been out visiting players and doing other stuff at this point. Let's just get to the basics, too. If you're watching right now, of course, we're doing this live. We're able to get it done tonight because Sean
that's right.
and Brenden were both coming back from San Francisco, so we might as well go live. I forced the family to go upstairs. They're watching the first Thor. We're getting ready for Thor to come out on Thursday night. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. and that would be awesome. We're cruising up towards 2,000 subscriptions like super quick. So big thank you to everybody out there. We're like almost 1,800 right now. Our last show went nuts, like 6,200 watches here on YouTube, which is awesome. We're growing each and every show. So thank you everybody who's out there, the loyal listeners to the King's Beat. So
Dude, we got
outside of
someone
that,
on here from Guam.
what?
Yeah, man.
Some from Guam.
Guam.
We've made it all the way to Guam.
We're big in Guam. I think it's Brenden.
You know, actually, my next door neighbors were. They spent a lot of time as what are they called? Missionaries in Guam. Like when they were younger, and now
So it's
they're
because
you
of
know,
James.
Now they're in their late 60s and I think early 70s, and yeah, but they were missionaries in Guam. So maybe we do have some Guam ties. That's interesting. Yeah, and what someone says Indiana.
Indiana.
Wow. Yeah, and I think no, I have not met Kevin Herter yet, and no, he's not my son. I should have that as a shirt. Like, no, I'm not Kevin Herter's dad.
He looks at you and just goes, Father?
Father? Kevin, I'm not your father. Yeah, so I think it's good stuff. Just so Brenden knows, that was from...
I got that one. I was waiting for that. I will say I did not get to The Godfather, but I feel like I have very
He's got some
valid
days.
reasoning. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you've got some days left. We put a Friday
Yeah.
deadline on that, so you got
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? Someone else had a suggestion in here early on. I can't remember what it was, but I think this is actually a good thing to. Let me see. Where is it?
Stop it. Somebody just said Singapore. Gabby Santiago.
Really? What?
I'm calling. No, you know
Yeah,
what?
one of these people has lied to us. least
This
one.
right here. This is have Brenden watch The Lost Boys. That is a very good suggestion.
He's not going to like that movie.
What?
He's not going to like that movie.
Let's get so many great one-liners. You're eating.
Why am I not going to like that
Michael.
movie, Sean?
It's phenomenal.
Go ahead.
What do you
sell
think?
it.
What do you
Sell
think my
it,
type
James.
is?
See if James
know.
can sell this to you. I just have a feeling you're not going to like it.
Okay, so it's Corey Haim and Corey Feldman when they're young, which you don't know who those guys are.
Two people that I don't think Brenden will like.
Yeah,
Don't know them, to
no,
be honest.
you'll love those guys because Corey Feldman. You know who Corey Feldman is? No.
No, he has no clue.
Have you seen Goonies?
Yes.
Okay, so he's Mouth on Goonies. That's Corey
Okay.
Feldman, the noisy one who tells the Spanish-speaking house cleaning lady that he's going to lock her in the closet and feed her to the cockroaches.
Yes.
That's Corey Feldman. Okay.
Okay.
And Corey Haim and him were partners forever. You know, they did a bunch of movies together. They're incredible. It's also Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patrick. It's got a great cast. All kinds of good people in that
Well,
movie.
he didn't say what it was about, but he just kind of said who's in it.
Lots of one-liners. I'm assuming this is a comedy.
It's not.
No.
It's like a
No.
horror
No.
movie.
It is a
Oh,
horror
okay.
movie. Is it? I guess it is horror. It's a vampire
Yeah,
movie.
Vampire movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like horror
No,
movies.
it's good stuff, though. Yeah. No, see, you would dig this. Yeah. License to Drive. Thank you, Spencer. That's Corey
Stand by
Haim.
Me. That's a good Corey Feldman, right?
That is Corey Feldman. He is...
Stephen King novel.
Yes, of course. Yeah. What is his... Teddy Duchance? Is that his name?
That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
chance.
yeah.
And you remember
yeah.
remember who played his brother? The older brother?
Yeah. So it's Will Wheaton is a younger one, right?
That's right.
And then, of course, River Phoenix
Right.
is in it,
Before
right?
he passed, yeah.
Before he passed. And then Jerry O'Connell is Verno.
That's right.
There we go. And then the
knowledge.
older brother is John Cusack.
There we are.
And
That's very
again,
well
that's also Kiefer Sutherland,
Yep.
who is, what, 8 Ball?
done. 8-Ball.
Yeah. Yeah, look
I'd
at
watch
that.
that. Brendan, check that
I'm
one out
keeping up
before
here,
Lost
I
Boys.
swear.
Yeah.
Have you watched Stand By Me?
No.
Oh, he's never
That's
seen
a
Okay.
Seal
There's no
song.
chance. No.
No, see, Stand By Me, did he just literally say that's a Seal song? Oh, my gosh. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
I'm
You're
surprised
gonna-
you knew who the fuck Seal was. That's even a
There's just the one song. It's not Stand By Me, but there's one.
Oh, no. Yeah, okay, Stand By Me and
Stand
Lost
By Me
Boys.
is Benny King, by the way, but it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So Stand By Me is like one of the better coming of age movies. It is. It's a great coming of age movie. Yeah. Anyway, sorry we've been sidetracked.
We did.
Let's just roll right into it.
Jason Vu with the Brendan's brain and the emoji there.
Yeah, the buffering.
Oh, and I'm glad Almir. Is it Almir? I don't know if I'm saying that right. But yes, I forgot Wes Wilcox's kids are. He actually told me about it. He says, "Yeah, no cussing."
Oh, Sean.
Yeah, sorry.
Sean got called out for cussing. Oh, that's awesome.
My bad.
That's hilarious. Okay, so let's just get straight into Sean's favorite part of the show, Tuesday Overreactions. Keegan Murray, NBA Hall of Famer. Go.
Jesus Christ.
Is this really an overreaction? It's the only logical way to think after what we saw.
Logic, it's science.
Yeah, he's way too big to be hitting movement threes and finishing like that in transition. It's too much for me. I couldn't contain myself. He looked good. Even in game 2, Jordy kept talking about how he thought it was a mental thing, that he wasn't getting up the same amount of looks, that maybe he was trying to involve his teammates a little bit more. But I thought he even did the other things in that game well. I don't feel like he took any forced shots necessarily, maybe some attempts that I didn't love, but he's definitely their best option at trying to make something happen on that team. So I was pretty surprised by some of the mid-range creation, and they started going to the post-ups a little bit more in this third game that we saw today. Yeah, solid on the defensive end. Did a good job switching. They did a lot of switching, even with Nemi out there, 1 to 5. So I thought that Keegan did what you expected him to do. I don't know, maybe that I thought it would be to that level, but it was that type of game that you expected from him.
He stands out, man. Like, the guy just, I know this is, you could argue that this is probably the most talented collection of people he's played with, maybe. I mean, because you're taken from all these different colleges and guys that are ready to, some of which are playing at the next level. I don't know. Would you say that Summer League rosters and opposition are better than what they're facing in college?
Yes.
Especially in the Big Ten, maybe? I mean...
Yeah, I think so. And I can also... what did we see? Like, roughly like 60 players over he was the best out of 60 without any question.
Yeah. Well, just to finish that thought, like, that's the way I did. I mean, I don't know if everyone would agree with that, but certainly, like, for me, he just has this, like, you can tell he doesn't lack confidence, and he talks about it a lot. That jumps off the page. But everything just feels so fluid and so smooth, but also, like, not everything's going fast. Like, you don't have a guy who's trying to play with his hair on fire. You know what I mean? Where every movement is just so quick. Like, he has to. There's like a calmness to him. And you know, when people talk about how the game slows down, I think it's already there for him. I really do. Like, I feel he has such a very good grasp for the game. Even in the game where, you know, you talked about it, Brenden, about him trying to get teammates involved. He's played with these guys for like a week, almost a week and a half. And he had 6 turnovers in that second game, I think it was. I was okay with almost every one of them because he's really trying to be this playmaking presence to show off what he can do. But in this circumstance, it's like, well, no, you can go out there and shoot 20 times if you want, because you really don't have a lot of guys that are up to that level and having that expectation. Clearly, when you get to the NBA, you're not going to be shooting 20 times, especially with the talent that's around you. So I think he showed off a really healthy sample size of his game. You know, it wasn't anything that we hadn't seen in college already, if you were watching any college basketball last year. But I think the thing that just impresses me most is just the poise and the confidence is there, and that's fine. But just this relative calmness, like he just has a really, really great feel for the game. And I feel like defensively, for things that they want to accomplish, he was a big bright spot for them on that too. So I was pretty impressed with him.
I got to be honest. I think the best thing that could possibly have happened, not just for Keegan Murray, but for Kings fans in general, was that he had a stinker of a game in Game 2. I think it brought everyone back down to a little bit of a reality that he is really good, but he's also a rookie. Like, don't blow this thing out of proportion. Give him an opportunity to have his ups and downs, to be really good in some games, and then to look absolutely like a player who's never been at this level before. And there are a lot of players at this level right now, the whatever you want, the California Classic, the Summer League, that are not NBA players, but they're also in every game. There's probably 5 or 6 guys that have a shot to make it, and I think that that's where you want to see him stand out against competition that is higher than what you did face in college. Now, maybe each team isn't put together and doesn't have the time to grow together, and as a college team would have, when they start out during the off season, and then by game, 20, they should be like a well-oiled machine. But still, I think you're able to see a lot of what he can do, and then a lot of the places where you would like to see a little bit of growth. I thought Jason Anderson tweeted out this morning that Jody Fernandez had told him that he sees Keegan more as a power forward / small forward as opposed to a small forward / power forward. And to me, that made a lot of sense because that's what he looks like to me. And just so people understand, at the NBA level, very seldom do you ever go from a power forward back to a small forward. You typically start as a small forward, and as you age up, you usually, as your body grows and everything else, you become a power forward. That's what we're seeing sort of with Harrison Barnes over the last couple of years. He's probably more impactful at the power forward spot than he is at the small forward spot. I think Keegan is going to be a power forward for most of his career. Can he play some small? Sure. But overall, I mean, do you guys agree that that's what you're seeing? Just the fluidity, the way he moves, just his size. He looks more like a power forward than he does a small forward.
Yeah, I think that he looks more like it just from his build, but I think that he's fluid enough that I'm looking forward to seeing how he performs at the 3. I'm not going to write it off yet. I think his lateral quickness is solid, and he's got good length to go with it. That I think he can stay in front of guys in that aspect, and maybe that won't actually be the case, and it's still kind of TBD in my mind. But he talked about really taking pride in being an on-ball defender and wanting to be great in that aspect, and knowing that he needs to get better there. Like, he's guarding the ball handler in a pick and roll. So I do think that there's versatility there where I'm intrigued in trying him at the 3, but I think that's more to do with Sacramento's roster construction than it being the most ideal position for him.
Yeah, Sean, what do you got?
Yeah, I think I've got a confidence of him because to me, I have a confidence in him playing a 3. I know he can defend a 3. I'm pretty confident on that end. I think he can literally get it in positionless basketball. I think you're going to see a lot of that. Maybe not right away, but certainly I think because he played a guard position so early in his basketball life that he's got good footwork. He's got pretty solid feel. He's got a decent handle. He can bring the ball up. His high school coach or his college coach likes to compare him to Grant Hill all the time, who was very much a point forward. And so I can see where people can see Keegan Murray as a 3. But yeah, I think people are going to want him to get bigger, and I think that that the 4 will probably be the natural position for sure, especially with the way he can stretch the floor. But either one, I mean, I think it'll be interesting if they get into next year and he's playing alongside of Harrison Barnes, and he's obviously, you'll have Keegan at the 4 and Harrison probably at the 3, and I think that could be pretty interesting to see how that develops from there, especially with having a vet like Harrison alongside him. The one thing I'd like him to do is, though, not fall into the trap that Harrison does so much, which is, not shoot. Like you want to see Keegan shoot the ball. I don't know if we're going to see it 14, 15 times a game, but it's got to be more than 5. And Harrison sometimes doesn't put up shots beyond, 5 attempts.
Yeah, I think there's some switchability there. Like, they are similar size forwards. I mean, again, Harrison Barnes is 6'8" as well. Keegan Murray 6'8". I do think that there is some switchability there. So that's a good thing in my book. I just don't think he's a natural 3. And I think down the road, 2 years down the road, he's going to look more and more like a 4 than he does a 3. But I will say this, like, he's going to have a couple of months here to refine his body. And you can do that with a professional training staff in a 2-month period. And I think we're going to see a little bit different version of him. I think his footwork, his quickness, all that stuff, his lateral quickness will improve as time goes on. But just like overall, I was super impressed. I mean, I thought everything that he did on the court was high level. I don't think that there was anyone that looked even remotely close to as good as he was in any of the games that they played. He averaged almost 20 points a game. He averaged 8 rebounds a game. He blocked shots. Him and Queta had like the tandem blocks twice in this game. And overall, like, look, I think the biggest thing for Summer League is you have to look like you belong. Like, you can walk into Summer League and it can be like, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. Like, this guy has way too much, he's got to grow way too much between now and in October. You didn't get that feel from him. He looked like he belonged. He looked like he was the best player on the floor. I think everything coming out of this particular Summer League, which is just small sample size, it's only 3 games, right, and it's against some teams that didn't play some of their better players. I would have liked to have seen him play against Kuminga. I would have liked to have seen him play against, some of the other guys, Moses Moody more, even, Weissman coming in and doing some things. I would have liked to have seen that. But overall, like, look, this was a great step 1. That's what it felt like to me.
Well, and the other thing, too, is when he made mistakes, even today, and even in Tuesday's game, typically the very same play down the other end of the court, he'd turn the ball over, he'd get a block. He'd miss an assignment, or he'd miss a shot, go down and make a play on the other end. It's the quick turnaround thing with him that just is kind of impressive, and sometimes you'll see guys, especially in Summer League, and I was asked the other day on the air, Eric Rucker was filling in for sports for Chris Tavares, and we were having a conversation about just about Keegan and seeing a guy go through the struggles that he did. And I said, man, this guy has a presence to him that's pretty commanding, and it's a quiet confidence. And I said, man, when Kings fans have been, and even myself who's covered this team for so many years, when you've gone through the likes of Yorgos Papagiannis and Thomas Robinson,
Ben McLemore,
yeah, I mean, guys that would get out to Summer League, even Jimmer, who had some clunkers in the Summer League, and all of a sudden the moment kind of plays a little bit too much for them, which is a shock for a lot of those guys because some of them came from pretty solid colleges. He just he hasn't stepped foot in Vegas yet. The next one will be against Orlando, and hopefully both he and Paolo Banchero play in that game because I'm very much looking forward to that. But I think so far so good, because again, even when you're going up against opposition that you may not know, someone has to stand out, and you can have a Summer League guy stand out and be absolutely terrible in the regular season. But again, like, I just feel like his overall feel for the game is very noticeable. Even away from watching games on television, I just feel like he has a really good feel for the game.
Yeah, definitely. I think that he also did a good job of, when the shot was falling, using the threat of his shot, like something we probably wished Buddy did a little bit more often, but recognizing when he's getting overplayed and back cutting, super solid with communicating, and even keeled was a term I swear I heard a handful of different times in describing Keegan Murray. Jordy Fernandez said that he reminds him personality-wise of Paul Millsap. And he also did say in the middle of that, probably the same position, but different player. And Paul Millsap, definitely a 4 for what it's worth. But yeah, and Jordy also talked about the importance of having guys like that no matter what happened yesterday, whether he just hit a game winner or he went 0 for 20, he's going to be the exact same guy when he shows up the next day, come tomorrow, and get his work in, and talked about the value in having those type of guys. And you absolutely see why he's the type of personality you want around, and his skill set is obviously intriguing as well.
Yeah, and Brenden brings up that moment about personality, because that was something that came up over the past few days, And obviously today, when I had to ask him about it because it was fresh in mind, because Mark Spears and I and Brenden we were all having a conversation about Keegan's personality. And I know some other people have made mention of it, but I've kept saying, like, he reminds me a lot, not his game, but just his demeanor, the way he speaks, this mild-mannered, almost don't give a damn kind of guy, and even the way he speaks and his cadence, just so much like Tim Duncan, and even on the floor. So after he's done speaking to the media, and I asked him, who's someone that you get compared a lot to personally, and from a personality standpoint, he of course mentioned Grant Hill again, but he couldn't really put his thumb on it. I went and pulled him aside afterwards. And I said, the one that always comes to mind for me is Tim Duncan. He goes, yeah, no, that's the one immediately when I was done that I remember hearing about. And I said, yeah, but you also have, it's not just the way you speak or the way on the court. Tim Duncan used to be the most animated facial expression guy, probably next to DeMarcus Cousins in a way, because if there was a call he didn't agree with, it was hands up, and the eyes just gets, as James just tried his best to do, gets so wide. And Keegan laughed. He says, no, I know, I do that. So I see it. I'm not saying he's going to be like Tim Duncan, so calm down, folks, but definitely from a demeanor standpoint, I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, he speaks with a monotone voice. He is very chill, but it's also very robotic, and he speaks in cliches slightly, but I think he'll get more comfortable. I do. I mean, we've seen even Davion really take leaps and bounds in his ability to talk to the media. He's a guy who came from a smaller school who, didn't have a bunch of spotlight on him before. And so I think at a certain point, he will start to come out of his shell a little bit and show a little bit more. But for right now, look, I think that the first 3 days of California Classic was a huge win for the Sacramento Kings. I think first and foremost, you see exactly how he fits. That was, I think if anything else, that was never going to be the question, right? We all saw that hey, you're drafting a dude who will fit perfectly. Now, whether he's the highest in talent or not, that was going to be the question, and we're going to have to see where that lands in 3 years. And look, I've liked Keegan Murray for a long time. I just was leery about drafting him at number 4, very specifically because you're too many players away, too many pieces away, and you had an opportunity to do some different things. Or maybe they didn't. But I certainly don't mind Keegan Murray being a guy because on this team, because he fits perfectly. And you can see where with Fox and with Sabonis, he really is going to find his place very quickly. The one thing I did notice is he wasn't very good in the 2-man game. It's something he's got to work on. He was good coming off of screens, coming around the top and shooting, sort of what we saw a lot of Justin Holiday after he was traded to the Kings last year, which I think that's a good thing. I think that having him coming off screens, catching, shooting, all that stuff is great. But he really didn't look like he had ever played with a big man that he could play off of, like Queta. And so he's going to have some transitional issues with Sabonis because that's a huge piece. You got to figure out how to play with Sabonis. He's a smart player. That's not going to take that long, but it's something that I think people should be aware of, that it's not going to be just he's going to walk on the court and all of a sudden, like Fox, he's going to be cutting off of Sabonis nonstop. He's got to learn that part of the game, and he's young. But overall, I think it was a huge win for the Kings this weekend.
Yeah, hard not to be. I think Keegan is going to be a guy that it wouldn't surprise me a couple times this year. You see him have a 20-8 game, and you're just by the end of the night, you're like, how did that happen? I don't think that's the consistent thing that's happening with Keegan throughout this year, but you'll get one or two, and they're always quiet. They're ones that you don't remember him getting all those points, and somehow having that nice of a quiet stat line almost seems challenging, but he manages to get it done. In the rebounds specifically, in that first game, I don't remember exactly how many he ended up with in that first one, but in each one of these
9
games.
Oh, no. He had 8 in the first game, 9 in the second, and 7 in the third. Yeah, he had 8.
Yeah, and they all just he's in the right spots. He does his work early there, and ended up getting more boards than maybe I initially expected. I know that was a solid stat for him in college, but the physicality is kind of different. And I thought he did a good job of being physical, not only there, but finishing in transition. I think, as we knew, like, maybe the first step isn't phenomenal, but once he's got a full head of steam going downhill, he was a force in transition. Saw a couple of like Harrison Barnes-esque slower finishes around the rim today specifically. It's intriguing. It's intriguing. I wonder if they'll use the post-up in the NBA. Here and there, I would assume with like obvious mismatches, but I wonder just how often we see it.
Yeah, I think the good thing is you can see that, number one, he's got great hands. Like, he's got really good hands. And he can do just about everything well. Like, he's going to have to find certain things that he's excellent at. And I think he will develop some of those things. And someone mentioned in the chat that he played with Luka Garza. Luka Garza averaged like 1.7 assists in his senior year. Like, he wasn't a passing big man. So there's a big difference between playing with a big man and playing with a passing big man, which is what Sabonis is. I also, like, again, I think that there's so many things to his game that he's just really, really good at. There aren't like a bunch of weaknesses. And you're hoping that the one thing that doesn't kind of stand out is, like, how does he hold up lateral quickness wise once he's going up against, much faster, quicker players at the next level. And, he's going to see some of that this week, but he's not really going to see it like he's going to see it once real games start in October, when guys are crazy fast or crazy strong, and you're just going up against a different type of guy almost each and every night. And sometimes in a given night, you'll go up against 3 guys at the same position that are completely different than each other. And, Golden State Warriors, they can, for a stretch, they can run Draymond Green at you. They can run Wiggins at you. They can run Kuminga at you. Those are 3 completely different players, and you got to be able to adjust. So I think there is going to be some adjustment period. But again, I think, like, overall, you saw, like, he's such a well-rounded player.
Yeah. One of the other things that stood out to me from being there was how much it seems like Davion is taking on almost want to say like leadership role. And we heard him talk about at practice prior to this that he felt more comfortable, that he was trying to communicate maybe a little bit more, because we saw him be pretty quiet, it felt like, for the most of last year. And he's communicating a lot with guys while he's on the bench. Even though he's not playing with them, he's still around all these guys and, pulling guys aside in the middle of the game and kind of giving them a little bit of advice here and there. And it's been interesting. I feel like we've seen a little bit of a different personality, kind of like you talked about earlier, that we saw progress through last year with Davion, and has continued to, in my eyes, like, keep growing for him to be more outgoing.
He wants to win so bad.
Yeah.
I know it's well documented, like, his competitive nature. And he was shooting around before the team took the floor today, and I caught up to him because I was naturally curious about his tattoo. He says he's gonna get a lot more, but the one on his right shin that just looked like it would have made me cry for months, right on that shin bone.
I saw your tweet about that.
Oh my God! Yeah. I asked him, I was like,
Yeah.
did that hurt? And he says, no, he had some numbing cream on it, so it was okay. But like, my God, I said, what would have hurt more, that or because he also did the back of the calf? He says, no, definitely because it was on the bone. But, like, conversation shifted a little bit more, and he really enjoys being around this group. I think, Tyrese Halliburton was around the team last year at this time and kind of had the same thing. It's like an initiation for the rookie to step out of the rookie year, come in and help usher in the new group and go through what you had just gone through a year before. And Davion is clearly comfortable in doing that, and he's going to be working out with them. He is working out with them, and you'll see him in Vegas as well. But, I mean, guy's got a basketball in his hand almost the entire time, and he gets in the ear of a lot of the guards during timeout or even during dead ball situations. Matt Coleman is a guy who just gravitates right towards him every single time. And actually, I think Brenden, pretty interesting T-shirt game going on. He had like a Dale Earnhardt Jr. Shirt today, and I think the first day he had the Allen Iverson one, or maybe that was the second day. So T-shirt game is kind of strong right now.
Interesting, the T-shirt game. Let's talk about some of the other guys. Sean, I'm going to start with you because I think Brenden has actually scheduled himself to go get a Keon Ellis tattoo. But I kind of want to know what you think of Keon Ellis, because he's fun. Like, the things that he does on the court, like, they're intriguing as well. He's completely different. But what did you see from Keon in his first 3 games?
He doesn't stop talking. I mean, it's kind of like having Pat Beverly in a way out there, because he's going to be known for defense, and he's just yapping away the entire time. And I like it. I mean, both in towards the opposition, both towards his teammates. He's communicating very, very well. I think he definitely has a joy about him, but seems to really relish the defensive end. I think the offense will come. I think we saw a good portion of that in Sunday's game 2. But yeah, man, the defense and that wingspan of his is pretty disruptive. I can see the I didn't watch a lot of Alabama. I knew who he was, but seeing him on the floor, I would have kind of liked to see him with another guard. I know, DJ Stewart was kind of taken out. He's had an ankle. I think it's an ankle. He had some sort of ankle injury. He didn't play today. I'd like to see him with DJ a little bit more. They brought in a couple other pieces. I mean, I know Frankie,
the greatest
got most
name you've
of it.
ever heard. Yeah,
Frankie Ferrari. Yeah, but even Sacramento's Christian Terrell got in today, and I thought he played well. He didn't really shoot. He didn't score anything, but he came in for those closing 3 minutes of quarters, and I thought he was pretty effective on both ends. And but I think someone to take the ball out of Keon's hands a little bit will serve him better. But yeah, defensively, I think there's a lot to like there. I think having him as a two-way player will be interesting. I don't know how much he'll get into games, but I hope to see more of him in this Vegas league coming up.
Yeah, I think I'm getting it on the front shin, but I'm not exactly sure yet.
Shin. Are you going to use
the front
numbing
shin?
cream?
Yeah, whoops. Yeah, apparently. We're going to figure that out. No, I think that what really intrigues me and what I enjoy watching is disruptive defenders. And that's exactly what he is. There's guys like, I think Barnes maybe got a little bit of a step slower recently, or maybe it's effort, but Barnes is more of like a just solid defender that is going to do everything right, but he's not turning anyone over. He's not disrupting the ball. And Keon, even if his defender's running by the ball, he's going to make sure to swipe at it on the way. He's really good at staying in passing lanes, but at the same time not kind of putting himself in too bad of situations where he's getting beat because he went for something. So defensively, I like a lot of it. It's going to be interesting to see how the physicality is for him, because he really is a 2, and that's about it. And he's a little bit more on the thin side for the NBA. I think that his body's still kind of got to adjust to the next level and continue to get stronger there. So I like it on defense. I think offense is where is going to be the difference for me. He does a good job of finishing when he gets to his spots. It's just about getting there, because putting the ball on the deck hasn't been great. And that was always the case with Keon. In his senior year at Alabama, he had 59 assists, but he had 52 turnovers. And we saw that in, I want to say, the first or second game. He had 3 turnovers to 1 assist as well. Like, you saw a little bit of that. So like what Sean said, if he's alongside another playmaker and asked to just hit open shots and make the right cuts on offense and then impact on defense, like, you can see it. I talked to him a little bit today. I was surprised because at one point he pointed out not everybody likes to play defense, but he's one of the guys that does. And I asked him if he was always that way. And apparently it was not a thing until he got to Alabama and had to break through the rotation. And never would have thought, because he seems so like instinctual almost out there, like he's been a defender and something he's liked for a long time. So I guess that's just started, and maybe there's even more upside. But hard to see him breaking the rotation this year, but there's something there.
Yeah, I thought there was something there too. And if you guys are watching right now on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up. Go down and subscribe. We got like 270, 280 people in here right now. So I don't know what the numbers look like, but give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you can.
I got to go through these comments. DB's about to jump off a cliff here.
Is
What's
DB going nuts?
Yeah, man.
Apparently he didn't
my
sleep
goodness.
for 2 weeks after
Getting
the last
tagged
time.
and stuff.
Oh,
Something
my
about his
goodness.
wife leaving. Wait, what was this? Wife is taking.
What is happening?
Sean, my wife has taken the kids and they're staying at her mother's, and it's all my fault. My fault, like Sean's fault.
Sean's
she has
fault.
filed for divorce. My life has been turned upside down. Thank you, Sean Cunningham. I don't know what I did, pal, but that sounds tough.
Good luck with that.
everything.
You
Yeah,
might
good
have to
luck with
save a
your
marriage.
DB.
DB.
Yeah. I always find DB's comments.
I
they
think
make me laugh.
I think I'm caught up now. He wants. If I didn't acknowledge him, this is what happens. That is.
Oh,
what,
this
okay.
is what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Got you.
Calm
Got you.
down, sir.
Got you.
Saved a marriage.
What I liked about Ellis is this: the Kings are, like one of many teams in the league that choose raw talent and figure with the mindset of, well, if they don't develop this way, we'll turn them into this, and that never happens. So I call it the David Lighty effect. David Lighty was a shooting guard for Ohio State. He was a 4-year guy. He was absolutely the quintessential team player. Whatever you needed him to do, he would guard the toughest guy. He didn't score a bunch. He scored like 10 or 12 points a game. But he was just an all-around solid dude who knew his role and played to his strengths. Well, the Kings don't usually go for that guy. They go for Dante Green, and they think if he can't become a 20-point-a-game scorer, well, we'll convert him into David Lighty. And the problem is that guys like Dante Green don't want to be that guy. That's not who they are. And guys like Neemias Ramsey, he still wants to be a scorer. He still wants to be, he still thinks he can be great where he doesn't want to be great in a role. And I think going out and getting a guy like Ellis is getting the right type of guy, a guy who knows exactly how his path is to the league. He knows what it will take for him to get to the league, and that is playing defense, because that is what his path to get on the court at Alabama, he learned it already. And so I think that having guys like that, guys who understand their roles, guys who aren't looking for their own, who understand that it's a team game and that they're not going to make the Hall of Fame, but they might be able to carve out an 8 to 10 year career if they listen and they do the right thing. Those are the types of guys that I think the Kings have lacked. We've talked about this before, like Jason Thompson, 7 years in, is going, man, like, when am I going to get 12 shots a game? It's like, you're never going to get 12 shots a game, bro. It's never going to happen. And so I think it's good. It's really good that the Kings are taking a slightly different approach to how they're bringing in players, how they're assessing players. If you're going to use, they didn't even use a draft pick on him. They picked him up as an undrafted free agent. If he can stick as a two-way player, that's huge. If he can develop and he can become a really good 3-and-D player, that's what I think the G League should be for. It should, if you got a young guy that needs to grow into, maybe he does have potential to be really good, that's fine. But you should only have, one of those guys on your G League roster. The rest of the guys should be okay, I need a shot blocking stretch 4 or stretch 5. I need 6 3-and-D guys. And so when I lose one, I bring one up and I can replace him. I think this is what they did in Houston a lot, where guys like Daniel House, they grow and they are told this is how you get to the league. You do this really well and you can survive with us. You can make it to the big leagues. And so I'm hoping that that's how they use him and sort of develop him and bring him along. Now, that brings us to the other guy, is Neemias Queta. What were your guys' thoughts? Because I've got some pretty strong thoughts on some of the stuff I saw from Queta this week, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be in the majority here, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about him.
I thought he was all over the board. I expected him to have a little bit more control than he did, but it's I think he's obviously such a humongous person, and I don't know, man. I wasn't all that impressed, to be honest. I mean, there's moments where he had some flashes, but if you take the collective work, I wasn't all that impressed. I kind of expected more. I think he's trying to do a lot. I think he wants to really show off what he's trying to do offensively. I still think defensively he played okay, but to be honest, after the 3 games, I kind of looked around and I was like, I kind of wanted a little bit more. But I know he was pretty impactful in, was it game 2, I believe?
2. Yep.
Yeah, 2. He looked pretty good, but yeah, man. Overall, I kind of wanted a little bit more from him.
Brenden?
I'm actually the same, and I think most other people I talked to thought he was playing pretty well. I did want to see a little more, especially as a second-year guy. I was hoping to see a little bit more development. One of the scouts I was sitting by said that it just looks like his bottom half and top half are just on completely different pages, and I think you definitely could see that.
That is such a scout thing to say.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's what, like, when he walked in the building last year, it was like, oh, no. Like, you got a lot of work to do. And you know what that is? That's core strength.
Yeah.
That's what that is. He needs to connect the bottom and the top for sure.
Yeah. And he was really thin when he first got to Utah State. Like, maybe not really thin, but he certainly wasn't built in the way that he is now. And I think that because of that, there's some nice finesse finishes around the rim that I think he's gotten used to, maybe not having, like, always that sort of physicality that he could go to just, like, go bully through guys. But I think that now he is at that level, and I wish I saw it a little bit more often. Like, he's clearly the biggest guy in the California Classic, but he didn't feel like he was outside of just looking at him and yeah, just being the biggest. I didn't feel like he was, like, physically imposing in the way that I was kind of hoping when you see that kind of body. But I think it's just getting used to playing at that sort of weight and strength is still a work in progress right now. And then defensively, he talked about moving on the perimeter being something that he really thought he was getting a lot better at. And, like, they were switching him on to smaller guys. Jordy said he thought he did all right in that aspect. I didn't love it. I still don't know that, like, I still don't feel the most confident when Kate is getting switched on to people. I also am not thinking he's going to get beat for sure, but it was okay. He had his moments. It was very up and down.
You know what it is, Brenden? It's like he's disruptive. You know, he's so big that he clogs a lot of lanes, and people literally have to work their way around him. So I'm with you because I almost feel like I need a bigger sample size. But he was impactful on the defensive end, if that makes sense. And I think it's just on account of how big he is, how he's able to take up so much room as well. So people kind of have to work their way around him a little bit. It's kind of like, you know, I don't like to go back to this so much because he wasn't really all that great with the Kings, but when Hassan Whiteside came back, and I was always pointing out to James how he impacted the game. Like you had to work around him so much just because he was on the floor, and that's because of really just on account of how big, strong, imposing, dominant he can be if he goes up for rebounds and block shots. And, you know, just by his presence alone, you have to find ways around it.
Yeah, you know who else is that way? It's Sabonis. Like, Sabonis just takes up a ton of space in the key, and he clears out people. You remember we had that moment last year where he actually yelled at the guards because he had screened 2 or 3 guys on a rebound, and they let it bounce like 3 times and didn't pick it up. And then he yelled at somebody. He's like, you need to grab the ball. Like, that's not okay. And I think it was Davion he yelled at, which was like strange because it's not usually him who has that issue, but he got on Shemezi a couple of times and stuff like that. What I saw from Queta was, number one, for how big he is, he doesn't try hard enough on the glass. Like, that's a problem. Like, if you're out there and you're so much bigger than everybody else, you can't have a 4 rebound game. You shouldn't even have like an 8 rebound game. This is summer league. He should have been up around, you know, how many bad shots are there? How many shots didn't go in? He should have been up around 10 to 12 rebounds every game, in my opinion. And it feels like there are times where he just kind of leans into everybody and acts like he's trying to rebound when he's not. And then every once in a while he gets upset about something, and you see a totally different player. And we saw it in the second half of the third game, where all of a sudden he went from having no rebounds in his first stint in the first quarter. I think he finished the first half with like 2 or 3. And then all of a sudden in the second half, he got yelled at or something because he was a lot more impactful as a rebounder. And I think defensively, he's got a long ways to go. We've known that. A lot of that, again, is just going to be body. He does need a lot of work still on his body. He's probably another year away from really being like a full-time roster player if he does make it. But on top of that, I think on the good side is he showed us like the off the dribble stuff, which I thought was stunning. Like he set picks like he normally does, and then he had some players that don't know how to use the screens, right? So that's frustrating for a player like him. And, no one respected Frankie Ferrari's jumper at all. So they all just trailed with him and there was no lob opportunities. So that hurts as well. But there were probably 4 times during the first 3 games where he just flat out took a guy off the dribbled it with no problem, got to the rim, made some incredible move. His footwork was good in the key. So I still think that there's still a lot of promise there. I just think he needs to turn it up. Like he needs to get comfortable quickly and he needs to turn it up and he needs to be a second year guy. He needs to be impactful on the floor the entire time he's there. And I'm kind of hoping he sees that and he feels that and that they're telling him that. Because I think we're at this point where, like, look, man, you only get so many opportunities. And it really, at this point, it's only him and Keon Ellis and Keegan Murray. That's it. Like, those 3 guys are playing most of the minutes, and the rest of the guys are switching out all the time. He's got to figure this out, like, during Summer League, I believe.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that you could give it a little bit more time. I'm not going to be fully out if it's not fully there by Vegas, I think.
Well, I'm not saying that either. I'm not saying I'm out on Queta. I totally dig Queta, but like he needs to step up. Like that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Especially that rebounding. Jordy definitely got on him about the rebounding.
Yeah, you have to. You're that big, you have to. That should be. He should have 10 rebounds every game in his sleep, especially like as James mentioned with all the bad shots being taken. James, I don't know. Do you have in front of you? I don't have the stats. I was trying to look for a box score real quick. Did you see what did he minutes wise in the 3 games for him?
He was around 22 to 24 most nights.
He played 27 tonight.
Yeah, today was I think the most, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but what about the previous games? The previous box scores are tough to find.
Game 2, he played 24.
Yeah.
And then game 1. Pulling it up here.
He played almost 28 minutes tonight, 27-38, and he ended up with 10 rebounds, 11 points and 10 rebounds.
But yeah, he had the double-double, that's right.
A lot of those came in the second half. And, I mean, like, he's got to do better than 3 of 7 from the free throw line, especially he's a guy that should get there quite a bit. But I thought, the blocks, all that stuff. They took one of his blocks away. They gave it to Keegan, which is interesting. Yeah. But, I'm not down on him. I'm just saying, like, look, this is where you got to improve, right? Like, if you're going to make it, this is what you have to do. You got to go out there and be a force, especially, again, like Keegan. He's got really good hands for a big guy like that. I mean, he can catch just about everything. He needs a point guard that can hit him on the pick and roll, that's for sure. I kind of wish we would have seen more of him and Matt Coleman together. Does that make sense? Because they have some sort of synergy from Stockton, and I think that would have made a little bit more sense. Anyway, was there anyone else that stood out that you guys like, I'd like to see more. I'd like to see a training camp invite, or I think that he's probably close or that he needs to be around the team more?
For me, go ahead, Brendan. Go ahead.
I liked Alex O'Connell in moments. He's definitely bouncy, and
he's fun, right?
Shots going down, yes. He definitely at very least a guy that you like to have at the practice because you're gonna get 1 or 2 he can get up moments. And so yeah, you see that a little bit, and then if the shot's going down, like it's kind of intriguing. I think that like the defense definitely needs a lot of work, and he got attacked out there, but he popped. And you mentioned Matt Coleman, like. I like Coleman. I would have liked to see Stewart and Ade Murky. Like I think those are 2 guys that I want to see around, but we didn't see that much here. But yeah, that was for the most part for me.
Yeah, Matt Coleman definitely knows how to score. And I remember thinking to myself, I was talking to a scout on day one. He says, well, if you got Matt Coleman, you're going to have a good chance of winning this thing just because of the way the guy goes out. And he just knows how to play. He knows how to play in these situations where going up against guys you don't really know very well and with a bunch of groups that you don't know very well. And you can just go out and make the most of it, and feels that Matt Coleman knows how to do that. And, you know, my favorite guy in layup line is Sean McDermott. You know, I want to see him throw something down in one of these games where he just really catches a body. That would be kind of fun. But no, I mean, it's look, I've seen, it's funny because I've actually seen quite a bit of Frankie Ferrari prior to this, just because he used to torch UC Davis a lot. And that team, he was known for just chucking up threes, I think, in his final year that he was there. They just, you know, just absolutely rained from the perimeter. So I had a little bit of knowledge from of him, just seeing him go up against UC Davis. But, you know, seeing him with this team, you can tell. I mean, we're talking about Queta. He's in his ear like all the time. And I think a lot of it has to do with spacing, where he needs to be. But then again, it's also summer league. So you get so many guys that come down here and they're just like, they'll just break a play to chuck up a shot. And you saw it a lot with the Lakers. There was some hero ball going on in that game, which is why summer league can be such dreadful basketball. But
yeah, it can be bad.
But it was also kind of neat to see, you know, Scottie Pippen, who we, you know, when he was with Prolific Prep, I've seen him in high school for the past 2 years, come through Sacramento. And then even Sharif O'Neal, that was probably only my second time of seeing him in person. And, you know, watching him advance the ball, you know, just knowing who his father was, I didn't think I'd ever see that. But yeah, it was these are the things I like about summer league, where you can kind of get a taste of what somebody might be able to do that you've heard of, haven't seen a whole lot of, and obviously has some pedigree to him. I know Scotty was his father, Mr. Scottie Pippen. Scotty with the IE and not the Y, because for some reason, even though he's Scottie Pippen Jr., he goes with the Y for some reason. I still don't get that. But yeah, to see the Hall of Famer in the building the other day was pretty cool.
Yeah, I definitely like Matt Coleman. Like, there's just a feel to the game that he has. You know, like he's a smart basketball player, and he can get people open. He doesn't make a bunch of mistakes. He does play defense. Do you guys remember? Okay, so there's a guy who does impersonations of basketball players. Have you ever seen the guy do the impersonation of?
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it? I'm trying to think. Who is it that he's impersonating? Where he's playing defense, but he's playing defense backwards. Oh, it's
Marvin Bagley, maybe.
No. It's who's the little point guard from Kentucky the Kings had in? They almost signed to a training camp deal, and then he didn't sign. He played for Phoenix a couple of years ago.
Tyler Ulis?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Ulis. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
so
tried,
you remember,
and they tried to get him back. If you remember, they were going to try and get him back to the G League.
Yeah. So
after he washed out.
That guy made a video of Tyler Ulis playing defense where he literally like plays defense with his backside and like is running around in front of you. You're like, what are you doing? Like the wrong way. So there are moments where Matt Coleman does that, where you're like, okay, I'm not quite sure what you're trying to do right there, but it's not very impactful. But overall, you know, he just reminds you of that guy that walks out and whatever team he's on is going to win. Like, just because they make a bunch of smart plays and they're not doing a bunch of hot dog stuff, and there isn't going to be a bad shot from him and stuff like that, like what we've seen from some of these guys. So I like Matt Coleman. Again, there are a couple of guys with some crazy bounce. McDermott was okay, I thought. Who's the big number 50?
Sistina?
Yeah, Sistina, which is like, oh, man, young Jack Cooley. Yeah, he just like or John Brockman, he like puts a hurt on you the whole time. I enjoyed watching him play too. He's one of those guys that, you know, he figured out at a really young age that the only way for him to stay on the court was to use his body the right way. And that's what he does. He just goes around and like levels people and hits people hard. But overall, I mean, Coleman is the only guy that kind of makes me think, okay, like I really hope that they have him at the G League level next year. And I'm kind of, why didn't they bring up him last year as opposed to was it Justin Robinson that they signed at that one point, like off the street, as opposed to going with a guy like Matt Coleman. I guess it's because you could lose rights to him and stuff. Jared Roden, he did have a couple of moments. I thought Horn was pretty rough. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's Summer League, right? So I think it's intriguing to watch.
Do need a third string point guard. I don't know if maybe one of the guys on this roster. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think one of the guys on this roster, but
Me either, but they need one.
They do. They do need a third point guard.
A lot of teams, yeah. I just don't see it on this roster yet.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so let's get to that. We'll go to the business of basketball.
I like how serious you get when you do that. You get that
the
kind of look in your face.
Of basketball. Yeah, I mean, okay, so we're getting to the point in the offseason where like true free agency is winding down. There are some players that I still wouldn't mind the Kings signing that are out there. There is the Sasha, Vezenkov situation where, according to our friend Christos Saltos, Sasha's on his way to Las Vegas to meet with the Kings, and there's a good chance that he will jump ship and come to the U.S. this year. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll have to wait and see how it works out in the end. But I certainly think that that's a big body, a 6'9", power forward that can shoot the ball, fluid. He's at least intriguing. But the Kings are at 12 roster spots at this point. They still have 3 more spots to go. Do you think we're done? Like, is there another home run swing coming? Is it going to be quiet? Is it going to be like maybe Vezenkov and then one other like medium to low end ad? What are you guys kind of thinking?
Well, I think they're definitely going to try to make some moves. I think they're going to try and attach themselves to some trades. I think there's some possibilities that exist out there. So yeah, what the roster looks like on July 5th could be a lot different by August 5th. So I think these weeks and month ahead could be pretty telling. I would expect some movement, but it's also very possible that you won't, and you'll start to see some of those low end. I don't like to call them low end free agents, but also just some of those ones. I think right now you're in this big holding pattern because I think everyone wants to see what happens with Kevin Durant, possibly Kyrie Irving, possibly Ben Simmons, whatever the Nets are doing. I know people aren't talking about it much as they were days ago, but even possibly with Donovan Mitchell, what is Utah going to do? So I think there's a lot of question marks, and I think you'll probably get through this week, and by next week, and you get so many of these free agents signed and out of the way, you might start to see some more movements start up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked any of these days here to see a big trade with Sacramento being involved. Even a big trade, and they're a third team that gets back some smaller pieces because I still think they need another wing on this roster. I think they need a third string point guard at very least, even if there's not substantial moves. I think those small additions still need to take place to kind of finalize this roster. But I'm still thinking that Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes aren't playing 60 games of Kings basketball this year, whether that be in the middle of the season that they move those guys or in this offseason. That's kind of what I'm expecting, where I'm expecting the change up to be. And at this point, it's hard to see. I think that, like Sean said, most people are probably waiting for Kevin Durant to get traded to Sacramento before everything
of course
kind of calms down. Yeah, as is obviously going to happen, the only logical conclusion here. But it's interesting because there's also guys on that Brooklyn roster that I think are interesting. That are they more available with the direction they're all of a sudden going in? Is there guys on Utah's roster, if they're selling, that you can go and get that are maybe a little bit smaller compared to like the Tobias Harris, John Collins that we've heard over and over again? So I think there's a handful of things. I'm certainly expecting more, but also could see them going into the year this way.
Now, I'll ask you guys this. After watching Keegan for 3 games, I mean, of course, it's a tremendous sample size. Would you still look at John Collins as a viable option for the Kings?
depending upon what you're giving up, yeah, maybe. I'm not the biggest John Collins fan out there, I'll admit, but certainly I think he addresses a need. But I don't think it's the end of the world if you don't get him, if that makes sense. I think they look at Keegan Murray, and I think if we fast forward to September, they're probably thinking about him pretty confidently as their starting four. So I think it's something you can go into the season with that way, unless Mike Brown just completely gets kind of creative in his training camp, and let's say they don't move Rashawn Holmes or whatever, and maybe we're looking at Domantas Sabonis as a 4. I doubt it, but I think there could be some tinkering that, depending upon what the roster looks like, Mike Brown might have a field day and kind of picking and choosing some spots to play some guys in and trying to get, if you remember, Dave Yeager did this, Luke Walton did this, you're trying to get sample sizes of guys playing together. And the one famously is the one with Rashawn Holmes and Marvin Bagley. They wanted to get minutes and see what these guys looked like together, so that they had some numbers to back it up, and before they really started making other decisions. So I could honestly see some of that if the roster kind of remains the way it is.
Brenden?
Yeah, I like Collins. I think that it'd be too much of a talent upgrade to not consider it if it's like Barnes and a little bit more on top of it, with Barnes being the primary return there. Like, I don't know that I think the impact between those guys is that substantial of a difference, but John Collins is still young and has more potential upside, and you have more years of team control with HB expiring this season. So it's intriguing to me for that reason. I also don't love Collins, but I don't think that having Keegan fully takes him off the table in my mind. Like I said, I think that Keegan can play the 3. I think I could be wrong about that. I'm not 100% at this point, but I feel okay enough to try it, and I would understand if they were in a place where they felt like that was an okay fit.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it closes a door, but he is a talent upgrade over what they have right now. And then doing like the advanced numbers on Harrison Barnes, like, I don't know what happened last year. Like, it's an outlier for his career, but he was so bad defensively last season that, I mean, it's stunning. Like overall, where he was at defensively, he was one of the worst defenders in the NBA. And I think he's going to have to address that on the court. Like, he's going to have to figure out what exactly happened and how he can be better. And I know the Kings kind of broke him last year. That's what it kind of felt like by the end of the season, that being in Sacramento this many times, this many years, and seeing things go the same way again and again, broke him a little bit. So maybe that's why his defense was so bad. But the Kings need help at that position. And so even if it's, I think there's still a Martin twin out there, right? Like, go get somebody. Like, TJ Warren just signed for a minimum deal. Like, you got to go get somebody. You still got $4.1 million to play with. I was surprised they didn't.
TJ Warren also signed because he's been hurt. I don't know that there's a lot of belief there that he can. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because you mentioned with Harrison and being an outlier, sure, but it's still like he was still one of their better defenders. I said it last week, and it for even as bad as he was defensively, he's still the one they have so much belief in as being a competent defender, at least in their upper echelon, which is a testimony to how bad they are defensively. So it's just, it's the truth hurts, I guess.
I'll tell you, he ranked in the bottom 12th percentile of the league in defense overall. He allowed 1.062 points per possession. Man defense, 13th percentile in the NBA. Against a spot up, 5 percentile against a spot up in the NBA. And that's on 236 possessions. We're not talking about like a couple of possessions. Pick and roll ball handler, 49th percentile. 14th percentile. I'm sorry. So yeah, those are some numbers where you're like, oof. Like, I hope that it was a dip and not like the new norm that we've seen him like basically get to a point where he's going to regress just for his own sake, like whether it's in Sacramento or somewhere else. Okay. Outside of that, we don't know exactly. I think the Kings are going to introduce Malik Monk and Herter. Yes. Kevin Herter, who, to be honest with you, like, I'm old enough he could actually be my son. He's not, but I am that old.
Are we sure?
For sure. Yeah, I am certainly old enough that he could be my son. I think I was almost married by the time he was born. So, what is he? Is he 23 or is he 24?
Well, who's older, him or your boat?
Oh no, my boat's new, like 2016. Sean, come on now. No,
I just
almost 24.
This is the new drinking game. I'm trying to reference your boat in every podcast.
You can come up and hang out on my boat this week. Anytime you want. I'll take you out on the boat and we'll go sit and drink on the lake, Sean. I'll barbecue for you.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
Anytime. Any day of the week.
I'm debating whether or not to go up to Tahoe tomorrow because I leave for Vegas on Thursday. And it's like, do we do this trip to Tahoe, day to Tahoe to try and get this tournament coverage in with some of the people that might be there? Yeah, man, I don't know. Might be too much to, what I like to call our podcast. It's like a 10-pound show in a 5-pound bag,
I'm intrigued to see what these guys look like together, like the whole team here that they've assembled. I am intrigued. I think that they've added the shooters, they've added the players that we've kind of hoped that they would add, but. Like, I still think they need a couple more pieces, right?
Yeah.
So
at very least, they're going to be
there.
I think they're watchable this year, at very least. I know it's a low bar, but I don't think you could say that for a majority of last season.
They're always watchable, man. I sit there every single game and think, this is horrible basketball, but I'm still here. It's still watchable. Something will happen. Someone will throw up on the court. Something stupid will happen. Yeah. Mike Wagaman will sit there and laugh at the bing bong. Like, bing bong.
AP writer for the King comes up from the Bay, and you really got a kick out of that. And I'm looking at him like, you are a simple-minded fool. You are easily entertained.
That's right. What did you guys think of the fans claiming that the Kings are going to win 40 games?
Oh, we should.
Thank you, Sass.
We should have
there
a chat by that. We should have a chat about that. I have some thoughts.
Uh-oh.
No, good for them. I mean, you know what? Like
they had a good time. Like, I was totally fine with it.
You came to San Francisco. You paid a lot of money to go watch some really mediocre basketball, and
that's being nice, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, come on. The Kings fans get excited about any level of success. So if you could win a summer league game, and you're able to come out and say that you're going to win 40 games, which is still a losing record. It's I mean, I was talking to Spears about it today.
He took a shot. Like, don't take a shot, Spears.
Well,
they haven't seen 40 wins in 16 years.
It was facts, though. Like, it's still a losing record. If you're excited, we're going to win 40. It's like, do you know how many games are on the season? It's true. It's like 40. Great. That would be. They haven't won 40 since Nam or something. Like, it seems that long ago. But
Brenden, Nam is the Vietnam War that happened between like 1966 and 1970.
Lots of movies about it that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like I brought up the Dave Yeager thing about how much it pissed people off, not just fans, but within the organization. There were some heated people. What was it? 28-point lead in Portland.
They scored 81 or 82 in the first half, and then he pulled everyone.
Yeah, and then he pulled. But you know what? Luke Walton did it. He did it as well in the final game. That's a very popular move that you will tend to do out of respect of your veteran players going into the offseason, especially when you haven't you're not making the playoffs. He gave him it was like a 28-point lead, and he sits him. And as Spears said, he's like, well, you could have brought him back. It's like you could have brought him in when it was a 20-point game or maybe a 15-point game. And I'm like, why? You're still not making the playoffs. 40 games compared to 39 doesn't mean much. You're only trying to help maybe your draft pick at that point. Like, who cares? And there were people who were legit pissed about it. And I wondered, do some people have a bonus in their contract if they get 40 wins? Not players. I'm saying like even the front office types or scouts or whoever, PR, I don't know, anybody within the organization. Maybe they get a hug, a medal. I have no idea. But there were some people up in arms about it, and he just pissed people off when he benched those guys and they fell short and they got the 39 wins, which is, it didn't matter. 39 or 40, it did not matter.
Yeah, that was the Anthony Simons and Scalabissiere giving the Kings the business. Yeah.
Actually, I think even Caleb Swanigan played in that game.
I think he was on the Kings. Was he? Because
sure?
he hopped between the two. He spent 2 different stints in Portland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was on Sacramento because he was traded for Scal, I believe.
Yeah,
Right.
but then they traded him back there.
Yeah, they like gave him
Right.
back. Anyway,
I'm not sure.
However,
either way.
However it turned out, it was just incredible. But to see, like, I don't fault a Kings fan. I mean, these people spend money, bro. Like they want to be. You should be happy that they show up at all. You know, this is 16 straight years without playoffs. Could be 17 this year.
Yeah.
Like I know that these people aren't on the hook. They've only been there a few years, but yeah, man, the people that show up, let them be happy. I mean, it can be a cringeworthy moment for a lot of other fans, and people like to poke fun at it. Whatever, it doesn't bother me.
No, I thought it was great, and I love the homemade Keegan Murray jersey.
I didn't like that so much.
I love that one. That got me. It's like, look at that.
His jersey's not available yet. You can't go get it.
No, I don't think
jerseys
it is.
are expensive though, so maybe it's tough.
Well, plus, I mean, you spent like $300 just in gas getting there and back from Sacramento. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you guys paid that money to go down there and back.
You don't know that they're not going to SF State or Berkeley or, they could be in the Bay. Come on,
True.
now.
That's true.
I was talking to somebody who came up. This was on Saturday. They came up from Southern California down by Palm Springs just to be able to go to Kings games. None of them are from Sacramento, and they said the reason that they were Kings fans was they loved Francisco Garcia. That became their player for whatever reason.
Oh,
so Francisco Garcia is the whole reason why they're Kings players or Kings fans.
Yeah. All right. No, I had someone reach out to me on Twitter and thanks for the coverage, and then mentioned that he's not here in Sacramento and he's not around other Kings fans, but it's a different perspective and stuff. So, no, I think it's great. I think people should enjoy themselves, and however that is. I mean, I think we were all young once, and I mean, I can remember being in the stands at Oakland heckling players when I was a young kid and messing.
What was your
around
best heckle?
Oh, I don't think I want to even say that. Yeah. We got flipped off by Ricky Henderson one time, I remember.
Wow. Did you really?
Yeah.
Ricky flipped you off.
Like, he looked over and then he rubbed the back of his leg with the middle finger. That wasn't me. That was a buddy I was with who was, like talking trash the whole game to Ricky. Because I'm an Ace fan, so I wouldn't, of course, talk trash to Ricky. Unless it was one of the 14 times he was on a different team and then came back to the A's, But, yeah, I think it's fun. I'm glad people are out there having a good time and behaving themselves and getting caught on video and being very proud of the fact that, that they made it all over the place. That video went all over the place. So good for them. Yes, I'm an athletics fan. Yes, I have been an athletics fan my whole life. That's really difficult to admit. That's in the thread here on the side.
Scrolling through those? We haven't done much with the this chat today, but there's some good stuff in
Sean,
there.
we did not Sean. This Sean on here. Leandro Barbosa is joining the staff, and I think that's a really good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing that he's joining the staff.
Brazilian Blur.
The Brazilian Blur. The press conference for Monk and Kevin Herter is probably going to be in Vegas later this week, maybe early next week. It depends on their availability and stuff. But they are in Sacramento right now. They're not going to do a press conference in Sacramento from what I know. Everyone's packing up and getting ready to go.
They're already there.
Oh, they already flew straight there? Oh, yeah. See, I wasn't there. You guys were. I'm glad you guys were there. Okay, do we have any final thoughts? Brenden, what do you got?
I'm looking forward to Vegas and see.
Have you ever been? You've never been. Never been as an adult.
I've never been in Vegas, as an adult. So I don't know how much I'm going to actually experience Vegas. I mean, I'll probably accept an invite that I feel like I might get from Sean, and maybe I'm just putting you on the spot here.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
I think I'm just going to
whatever
big
the
time
plan
you? What
is. No, whatever the plan is, because I mean, we're going to be watching basketball all day long.
You
so
are.
I
makes
absolutely
one
am.
of you. Yeah, I'm not
You're
going
right.
to be doing that.
I definitely am. So I don't know how much other Vegas stuff is going on, but I'm looking forward to it.
Sean, you going to take him to Firefly?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
Firefly is definitely
Tapas.
Firefly will be on the menu for easily 3 meals in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's
Firefly
pretty
is incredible. And then their pitcher sangria is just off the charts.
Yeah.
I know
And
one
that's-
time I wait for you and Jason Jones, and you guys, like, one of you was super late. Both of you were late, but one of you were
usually me.
super late, and then I ended up drinking almost a whole pitcher of sangria by myself, like waiting, like, where is everybody?
Dude, my goal
happens.
is not to be as late, and hopefully they play the Kings just play earlier and earlier in the day. Although I will admit, sometimes I do love when they were. I think the last year or even before the pandemic, all the Kings games for some reason were late, and now I think that a lot of them are so early. There might be a couple that are later, but
Early ones are good.
yeah,
Get it out of the way, get it
get it out of
done.
the way. Yep,
Get it out of the way, get it done, then go have a good time. Yeah. Everything will be streamed, streamed, or it'll be played on NBA TV and everything else. You'll be able to watch almost every game of Summer League. That's kind of the new thing that they do. Brenden, is there anything you're looking forward to down there?
Chet Holmgren.
Oh,
he
yeah.
is in Vegas, right?
Oh, my
Mm-hmm.
goodness.
I
He
think
was
they're
so
going.
good today. He was so, like, you guys were driving when that was happening. Holy cow, he was good. Like, the Dirk move, the roof block. I mean, he fully, like, put a roof on a dude who was going up to hammer on him. Just, like, went above him and just, like, put a roof on it. Yeah, he was impressive. The Dirk fadeaway was nuts.
Put a roof on it.
Keegan matching up with the other big prospects should be fun too. I think they have Paolo in the game 1, right? That'll be a fun matchup, and kind of seeing him step up or how he deals with the moment be interesting.
Firefly is on Paradise for those asking in the chat. In Vegas, it is a tapas place, Tapas. So in case, because that kind of sounds like something else that might be in Vegas.
It's not one of those places.
No, tapas place, tapas, and it's pretty fantastic. I would recommend take as many people as you can, and everybody just throw in and just get a bunch of different dishes and family style it.
No, that's a good idea. And then also, Brenden, just drink water the whole time, just like nonstop the whole time, because you're going to be hurting from the drinking, but also the heat, and then the recycled air, which is god awful. Like, I am not going to Vegas. I'm glad I'm not going to Vegas.
Well,
I had no plans on going to Vegas.
He's not going to be. You're not in a hotel, right?
I'm in an Airbnb.
Yeah. See, that's even better because you won't have that like recycled air that the hotels have that just dry everything.
You got
it's already
Airbnb.
dry
Are
out there,
you going with someone else?
Yeah, going with a couple other media members.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
That sounds like fun. Yeah. We there was a year that John Santiago and I got we got a suite somewhere, and then John is frugal, so he decided to rent out part of our room to like 3 other people while we're so I literally like end up with like there's 5 of us in a room, and it's like, what in the world is happening here?
Didn't
like,
somebody sleep in the tub?
Well, no, I slept on the kitchen table at one point. That's a story for another day.
Yes.
That's a good off the record
one.
Beat with the Kings Beat virtual happy hour. Again, we will definitely get a Kings Beat off the record virtual happy hour going here soon. Okay. Well, you guys have a good time in Vegas. We'll continue. We'll get a show in next week. One of these guys will be back by Tuesday, I assume, and if not, we'll figure out something from Vegas, right?
We're gonna lose Brenden like he's Doug in The Hangover. It's just not gonna be good. No. The Hangover is a movie with Zach Galifianakis and Brad. Okay.
Mike Tyson.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to our live stream of the Kings Beat happy hour. The Kings Beat podcast. Very glad that we're able to get this thing in tonight. We're at like an hour and 35 minutes. If you are still watching right now, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. We're pushing 2,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. It's amazing. Our last podcast between Audiophile and YouTube went well over 10,000 listens/views. So thanks for joining us on this adventure. We love to see the growth. It's been a great time. And we got a few more weeks here of crazy summer league to cover, and hopefully some more Keegan Murray crazy outbursts, and maybe the Kings go back-to-back summer league champions, because that means everything.
Yeah,
you guys agreed, clearly.
the defending our chip quotes were something.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. All right, so for Fox 40's Sean Cunningham and Brenden Nunes from the Kings Pulse podcast and the Kings Herald, I am James Ham, your Kings Insider. Wait, I forget sometimes. It's been a long couple of weeks. Trust me, I'm in a weakened state still, people. I'm recovering from the COVID still.
You wouldn't know it. You're doing pretty well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight. We'll see you guys all next week. This should be a good week of coverage. It's going to be fun. We'll still have takeaways. We'll still have all kinds of content for you. So stick with us here at the Kings Beat. See you guys.